Uh,
at night and
it's, such,
things.
it's such a great idea. Hey everybody, what's going on? This is the Waste of Talent with Josh Beard and Shaun Bajani. Sean's trying to get himself fired tonight. That's not from his job at the school, from another place of work. Sean's trying to get
Wrong.
himself fired. Yeah,
Wrong.
rug. Look, here's the problem with the Astros. Okay. Look, I don't know what there is to talk about. We're gonna do a recap of Game 5. We're gonna talk a little bit about Game 4 too, because I wanted to go after Game 4 last night. We didn't get the chance to do that, obviously, because the game went too late. So we were like, fuck it, we'll do it it's a Friday night. Everybody's busy doing other things. Nobody wants to watch us, so they can't hear our stupid takes. So why don't we just go ahead and do it whenever nobody's going to be paying attention to us? So I think that's
Practice. It's like
yeah,
practice.
it's like practice. You talking about practice? We in the playoffs. Wait, hold on. We're in the playoffs, and you were talking about practice. Yeah, it wasn't pretty tonight. The first inning was real ugly for both teams. Honestly, when the Yankees came out and Gleyber Torres missed palming that ball, I was like, oh shit, they're picking up right where they left off. And it's funny. Well, I mean, it sucks for him, but it's funny. Like they've been talking this big game with Torres, and the dude doesn't even look like he can field the ball at all. Like the last or game and a half, and.
Right.
Look, I hate all the excuses that they tried to make for him in Game 4, where they're like, I think it was LeMahieu, where they're like, well, did you see the spin on that ball? It was just that ball had so much spin, and the bounce there's no way you can predict that bounce. I'm like, dude, I could have gotten that bounce. Are you fucking kidding me? Get out of here with that trash. And they tried to make excuses for Torres, but I thought that the Yankees fielding was going to pick up right where it left off. Sanchez looked like garbage. Again, the pitching didn't help him out at all. I'll at least give him that, but it looked good. And then Justin Verlander came out and did things that Justin Verlander doesn't normally do. And then God, like 3 more inches to the right, man. 3 more inches to the right. It's just, it was painful to watch that first inning with Justin Verlander. And then especially to see how lights out he was the rest of the way. Like after he got out of the first inning, he was incredible. What, 9 strikeouts tonight? 8 strikeouts, something like that. He settled in. He was pitching so well, and then the bats just didn't show up. The bats didn't show up at all. Like the only reason they had a run in the first place wasn't because of a hit. It was off of a I don't know if they called it a wild pitch or a pass ball, but not exactly how I envisioned and how we wanted Game 5 to go. Game 4 went about how we wanted it to go. And some of my concerns with Greinke reared their ugly little head, but the one thing I will say about Greinke in Game 4 real fast before I shut up and let you talk for a minute is, although there were moments where it was ugly, he pulled himself out of it. And to come out of that outing with only 1 run, that's a pretty damn good job. But I thought they were going to close it out tonight. I really, really did. I thought that they just absolutely, it looked like the Yankees hadn't really quit, but had realized it was going to be that big of an uphill battle. It was too much for them, and I really thought the Astros had momentum after last night, and they were just going to come and clean house with Justin Verlander on the mound. But this is playoff baseball, man. Shit changes, and everything's weird, and you have 1 bad inning. 1 bad half an inning is all it takes for the rest of the game to be gone. But now I'll shut up, Shaun, and I'll let you talk about what are your thoughts on Game 5?
Well, that's why I had no prediction for tonight, because I watched the Yankees blow a 3-0 lead to the Boston Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was it been now, like a decade ago? And we've seen teams that look dead in the water in every sport, and in a best of 5 or in a best of 7, the best team still has yet to win, because the series is still a series. So I had no prediction for tonight because I didn't quit on the Yankees. As much as and look, forget about tonight for a second. Astros are up 3-1 before today's game is played, and they're up 3-1, and their batting average and production overall with runners in scoring position is horrible. Their 2-out hitting has been horrible. Their ability to piece together hits is horrible.
It's bad. It's bad. What is their? I'm almost positive that their record with runners in scoring position in the playoffs in the playoffs so far. So ALDS and ALCS is like 4 for 46 or 4 for 47. I didn't look it up, but I think they showed it during the game at one point, and it was 4 for 44. And then they had a couple more opportunities after that they fucking failed on. So I think it's like 4 for 46.
You're probably not too far off. I mean, it's bad, but I mention all that stuff because, well, it's been that bad, yet your team is still up 3-1. Mm-hmm. To me, that says just as much about what the Astros have been able to do and in some of their clutch plays that they've made at the plate and on the mound and in the field. Springer and Correa's big home run, the great base running by Jose Altuve and George Springer in this series in back-to-back games, the quality pitching, the execution by Zach Greinke, who you mentioned, after he struggled in that first inning, walking in a run. Ryan Presley coming in relief, walking a guy before he'd struck out 2 guys to get out of a pivotal inning. Things like that can absolutely go the Yankees' way. Now, hey, they looked dead in the water in Game 4. They looked absolutely done for. They looked defeated. Guess who looked defeated tonight in the 8th inning? The Houston Astros.
Every single one of them.
Yordan Alvarez went up to the plate and swung and missed on 3 straight sliders. That can't happen.
Yep.
It can't happen. And I said, well, hell, here they go. They've mailed it in. At least he has. He said it looked like to me, I can't hit a damn thing. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to see if I can run into one. Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't help you. That might help you if you get lucky tonight and you do run into one. But the real issue, as I think we should kind of pivot to Yordan Alvarez for a second at least, is understand that A.J. Hinch tonight asked that question about Yordan Alvarez's struggles in the postgame press conference and said he's going to bat 7th and he's going to be the DH tomorrow. The dude's going to play. I don't know how I feel about that. Sorry, continue, but I just don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to ask you because I asked the question on Twitter and it was mostly one-sided, but do you agree with the ride or die decision by A.J. Hinch to go ahead and trot Yordan Alvarez out for Game 6 tomorrow night at Minute Maid Park, given his struggles?
Yeah, I do. I don't feel great about it, obviously. I don't feel super comfortable with it, but to be honest, like in the ALDS or going into maybe it was Game 2 of the ALCS, I don't remember what it was, but there was a stat where he was like, I think maybe it was the end of the ALDS, where going into the final game against the Rays, he was batting like .316 in that series, and it's been a struggle, but he's still Yordan Alvarez, and right. I just don't know who else you put in that spot that's going to give you a better shot than him. It's not like there's somebody else that's clearly batting. It's not like Kyle Tucker is like batting .320 in the spots that he's had, or it's not like Josh Reddick's coming in and raking the ball. Like Yordan Alvarez still gives you your best chance. It just sucks that he's struggling, and maybe you move him down in the lineup, and put him in a different spot. But I don't think you take him out. I think you leave him in there and you let him work through it. Which sucks. You're in the ALCS. You're in the ALCS, and you have to a guy who's been great for you all year. All of a sudden, looks like my 8-year-old son in his little league games, swinging at these high ass pitches, and it's working, man. They're getting him. They're tricking him every time. He's swinging those stupid sliders like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
That's a couple of things, I think. That's him not really seeing the ball very well out of the pitcher's hand.
Yeah.
Or I think he has a plan, but he's not executing that plan.
Yeah.
And he's look, even my wife said it earlier watching the game. These guys are all just way too eager. They're not very patient at the plate. Have you noticed what really could have turned the tide over the course of the last 2 games with the Yankees' approach to the plate is they really forced Zach Greinke and Justin Verlander early on to throw strikes, not to show strikes, but to throw strikes. And that worked. Even with Garrett Cole, him walking 5 guys, they forced him to really come across with his fastball and with his slider, not just show it in the strike zone, but it has to land in the strike zone.
Right.
Here's a couple of nuggets for you guys. Um, in regards to Yordan Alvarez, I just wanted to point this out. Like, Alvarez is not the only guy that is struggling. Alvarez is 1 for 22 since Game 5 of the ALDS with 11 strikeouts. Yuli Gurriel 2 for 27 since Game 4 of the ALDS. Alex Bregman 3 for 15 alone in this series against the Yankees, and Carlos Correa who's hit some big home runs. 4 for 30 since Game 3 of the ALDS with 13 strikeouts. There's that. So there's other guys struggling as well. And I think the mentality that you have with Yordan Alvarez maybe should apply to these other guys. And I say what I mean by that is Yordan Alvarez, yeah, he's young. He's 22. He's a rookie. He's not experienced. This is his first postseason ever. Mm-hmm. He didn't play like a rookie all season long. In 87 games, the dude raked.
Yep.
And here's how I know he made constant adjustments throughout the regular season and even this postseason. He never went more than 2 games. And I think I had the numbers pulled up. I don't think he did it more than 4 times during the regular season. Went more than 2 games without a hit. He was constantly able to make the adjustment. The longest he did go without a hit in the regular season was actually the final 4 games of the season. He was 0 for 1, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, and 0 for 4. That's 0 for 14, I believe, with 7 strikeouts. But after that, you're right. He hit .316 in the first 4 games of that Tampa series.
Yep.
With 3 doubles, 6 for 19. So he was able to make adjustments. I think at the end of the day, and Michael Brantley said it today after the game, that look, essentially what I'd said, we believe in him. He believes in himself. He's confident, and he can get the job done. And I'm paraphrasing here. But just as we believe in Yuli Gurriel and Alex Bregman and Carlos Correa, why shouldn't we believe in Yordan Alvarez just given a guy's age?
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you go by the logic of Joe Buck and the broadcasters of the ALCS, then his young age should help him, because that's what makes Gleyber Torres so great, is he's so young. But the difference is that he's young, but he plays like he's old. So it's good that he's young, but he plays like he's old, which is also good. So I'm confused as to whether or not they want somebody. It's good to play like you're old, but it's also good that you're young. How can both be good? Only one of those can be good, unless you're young that plays like you're old. But then why wouldn't being older be good? None of it makes sense to me. Yeah, but I totally agree with you. Like Yordan Alvarez.
I'm just talking
he's been great
Josh.
He's been great since they brought him up. Matt Hammond just tweeted out a minute ago. Let me pull up the tweet real fast. He just tweeted out, anybody who wants to take Yordan Alvarez out of the lineup needs to explain to me the better option. There isn't one, but I'm all for seeing drunk Astros Twitter right now. There's not a better option. It's like the people who want to fire Bill O'Brien. It's like, yes, fire Bill O'Brien. I mean, there's probably aren't a ton right now because they've been doing well, but like the people that want to fire Bill O'Brien is like, fire him, and we're just like, what who are you gonna get to replace him?
But it's not a drastic change, okay? If you took Yordan Alvarez out of tomorrow's game, it really wouldn't be a drastic change. We've seen Jake Marisnick start. We've seen Kyle Tucker start. Why couldn't you consider? And it doesn't sound like it's going to happen because AJ Hinch already said so in his post-game press conference today. However, he did say too that tomorrow's a bullpen day. He's just non-committal on who's going to start. But why couldn't you go Brantley DH, Tucker to left, Reddick to right, Springer still in center, and you have Alvarez off the bench, late game situation if you need a pinch hitter?
Yeah,
that's not absolutely crazy.
No,
that is an option, and it's happened before. The question is, AJ Hinch, I want to say, after the Game 1 shutout, 7-0 loss to the Yankees, there were questions because guys were still struggling coming out of that Tampa series. Well, why don't you make a few changes? Mm-hmm. Would you consider this? Would you consider that? And I can't remember exactly what he'd said, but the message basically was, we are who we are. We do what we do. We have who we have. And in so many words, we're going to dance with the ones that brung us here. And this is what we got going on. However, AJ Hinch tried it out dozens upon dozens of different lineups throughout the course of the regular season. Changes have to be made at sometimes. I don't think this is a drastic one. I don't think it would be a desperate one. It's one guy, a young, talented, key piece to this lineup that is struggling. And we saw what that extra few days of rest did after Yordan Alvarez went 0 for, what did I just say? 0 for 14?
0 for 14,
the last 4 games of the regular season.
Yep.
He tore it up the first 4 games in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You saw what that extra time did. And maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm also thinking about the extra time the Astros would like to have in closing this game out tomorrow. They'd have the 20th, the 21st, 2 days before the World Series starts in Houston. Get Yordan Alvarez some rest, get him in the film room, get him relaxed, get him in the cages, and let him work out the things that he needs to work out.
Just take a syringe and put some damn steroids in him. I don't give a shit. Just don't get caught doing it. If you're going to steal signs, just roid them up. Just to pop it, like, do they have HGH in pill form? Like, crush up a little bit of HGH and put it in a peanut butter sandwich, like I do my kids with some of their medicine. And just shove the pill in the peanut butter and be like, Yordan, here's a spoonful of peanut butter. And he'll be like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to eat this. And then he'll get all HGH'd up. That's what we really need to do. I mean, look, if Hinch decides to sit him, then Hinch decides to sit him. It's just honestly, my biggest concern is what it would do to him psychologically being a young player. Like, what would it do to him? What would it do to him mentally if he gets benched in the ALCS because he's been slumping? Is rest would be great for his body, yeah, but mentally is that going to screw him up a little bit?
I understand, and everybody's different, but I don't look at it as benched,
He's benched. It is. He's not playing well. He doesn't get to start. He's benched. Like maybe it's not the right terminology for it because baseball is a little bit different. It's not like Marcus Mariota getting benched for Ryan Tannehill on Sunday, right? But it's still he's not performing well and he's getting put on the bench. He could view it as that.
You have me sounding like I'm advocating definitively.
No.
My bad. Let me just say this. Like, AJ Hinch approached Josh Reddick before the start of the ALCS and said, you're not starting. Or whether it be, was it the ALCS? He didn't start the first 2 games of the ALCS.
No, he didn't. But that's also Josh Reddick, right?
Josh Reddick has been around for a while. I'm not trying to draw parallels, but I'm saying the approach. Hinch approached Reddick and said, look, you're not going to start, but you're going to be a key guy off the bench for us, and you'll start game 3 in New York. And that's what it was.
He had the approach,
and he played well.
But one thing that Hinch is really good at, and all good leaders are good at, is you don't use the same approach with every player. Every player, like, you can't. Logically, it makes sense because yes, he has used that approach before, but the same approach isn't going to work every single time. Well, how worried are you about the bullpen start? Obviously, Hinch said in the post-game press conference that he is going to go with a bullpen in Game 6, and then he's not going to play Garrett Cole. He actually wouldn't even say whether or not he was going to play pitch Garrett Cole in Game 7. He wouldn't even go as far to talk about a Game 7 in the post-game press conference. We all know that Garrett Cole would pitch Game 7, but he's not even thinking about that. So he didn't even bring that up, but he said, we're going to go with the bullpen in Game 6. I'm most likely not going to use Cole, and we don't know who he's going to start with the bullpen in tomorrow night. But, like, how worried are you that – I mean, honestly, it's not like the Yankees got any. They kept talking in the broadcast like, oh, the Yankees have momentum now. Oh, the Yankees have all the momentum. Not really. They had a really good first inning, and then after that, their bats fell apart, and Justin Verlander tore them apart after that. And I thought Peacock looked pretty good when he came in. But it's like, how worried are you going into a Game 6 bullpen matchup with the Yankees? It is at home, which makes it better, but I'm not going to lie, it concerns me a little bit. Even though the bullpen's been pretty damn good, it concerns me a little bit.
I don't worry any more about tomorrow's game than I did about Zach Greinke's start or even Justin Verlander's start today,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
No, that
And
makes sense.
it's less about who's actually on the mound and more about the situation. Now, Game 5, it was much more about who was actually on the mound because we'd seen Zach Greinke struggle already in the Tampa series with command, and I think at times a little bit of composure when he was getting squeezed or not getting the calls that he wanted. But he battled through, and he proved, I think, should have to everybody that the dude is a gamer, a grind out type of guy, and he's not going to be had off of just one bad inning. He's going to go out there and grind, like you saw Verlander do today. They've both been doing it for a really long time. They're pros. The bullpen game tomorrow, it's probably going to be Urquidy, and if it's not Urquidy, it's probably going to be Peacock, one of the two. Peacock only threw 8 pitches tonight, 7 of them for strikes, looked really good doing it. And I would probably favor the Astros in tomorrow's game, just given the fact that over the course of the last 4 games, really throughout this entire series, I got to go back and look. The Yankees have ran through the gamut of their bullpen. Everybody's pitched. Everybody's been out there multiple times. Canley's been out there, I feel like every damn game. Chapman's been out there at least twice. Britton's been out there at least twice. Lomas Saiga's been out there at least twice. You've seen these guys, and both sides will tell you the more you see a pitcher, especially over the course of a series, over the course of a week, every freaking day, it gets a little bit easier to time that up. So from that sense, I'm not really worried about the bullpen situation.
I mostly agree with you. I'm not too worried about it. Honestly, the thing that worries me about the bullpen situation has nothing to do with the pitching. It has everything to do with those bats. It's everything to do with the offense.
It's the bats.
Yeah, it has everything to do with the offense showing up. So that's not anything the pitchers can do. They can only go out and they can strike guys out, and they can put the team in the best position to win. But those bats have to start doing something. I was looking at I'm looking at the screen. Like, I know it probably looks to people like I'm looking at nothingness. But like when it looks like I'm looking off camera, I'm actually looking at my computer screen, and I noticed that like we look kind of like we look like we could be cousins or like half brothers. But the problem is, like, you're clearly the more handsome one, and I got all the bad genes. It's like you're the Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm the Danny DeVito. But what I've realized is, like, we look like a before and after picture of like some kind of weight loss pill. Where it's like, I'm the before picture. It's like, have you been gaining weight lately? Your knees hurt, back hurt. Do you feel like shit? Well, take this weight loss pill. And then you're the after picture.
Yeah, like the extremely tan version. Like once you've lost all the weight, you've just been on the beach like the whole time.
So not only did you just fat shame me, you also skin tone shame me, and that hurts my feelings.
You brought
man.
it up.
That hurts my feelings. No, for real though. Like we look at it, I've been losing weight. That's the crazy thing. It's like I'm in pretty good shape. We still look like a before and after because my face is like no matter what happens down here, like good things are happening down here. Up here just looks like a fucking mess. Always.
I don't need to know what's going on down there. Neither does anybody else.
No,
we're good.
Do you want to see, Shaun? I'm gonna look you right in your eyes. I'll look you right in your eyes too, everybody.
We're good.
Don't turn your computer off, man. That's the last thing we need right now. All right. So, do you think that they close it out tomorrow? We'll end the Astros conversation because I want to do like maybe if we can I want to do like a pregame before the game tomorrow and talk about it a little bit more if you're down for that.
Yeah.
But do you think they close it out at home tomorrow? I feel like they have a good chance. If it goes to a Game 7, whatever. It's Garrett Cole in Game 7. But I feel like they close it out tomorrow. As long as the last time we said this,
right.
In the ALDS, we said as long as those bats get going. And the bats got going. So we're going to recreate that magical moment where we save the Astros season. And we're going to say that, yeah, as long as those bats get going, they're going to close it out.
I feel like I watched the game as intently as anybody. Mm-hmm. I did not once remember tonight seeing them show, like, or
life.
Even really talk about with any kind of specifics what the wind was doing. But that the the Astros hit a couple of fly balls. They hit a lot of hard hit balls tonight. Let's be
They did.
honest. Again,
Chirinos, it's so annoying. It's God, if I see another fucking hit to the warning track, I am just gonna throw up. That Chirinos hit was so frustrating.
The one to left field that he thought he had, and I think it was Joe Buck that made mention of, yesterday's game. There was a jet stream out there. Today there's not. That tells me nothing. Like, shut up, Joe Buck. Give me the miles per hour that the wind is blowing. How did that affect the flight of the ball? And I'm only bringing this up because tomorrow the roof's going to be closed. It's going to be loud. The air is not going to factor in. The wind's not going to factor in. It's good old-fashioned matchbox baseball inside of a room. And, does that home run land in the Crawford? Does that ball land in the Crawford boxes off the Robinson Chirinos?
Absolutely.
Probably. And at the very least, it's off the wall for a really loud, long single because it's Robinson Chirinos running. Even though he had one of the most entertaining baseball plays offensively this year and legging out a triple.
Oh yeah,
at home in Minute Maid, that was really cool to see. But I don't know. I wish I could give you something definitive. It's a bullpen day for both of these teams, presumably. And while the Astros have hit a lot of balls really hard, guess what? So have the Yankees.
Yep.
Right at the shortstop, right at Alex Bregman, right at frickin' George Springer, Jake Marisnick. They've all hit the ball really well, just right at guys. So,
hey,
the vast.
Talk about hard hit balls. Sorry to interrupt. I got to give props before, I don't want to forget about it before we move on from the Astros. Fucking huge props to Yuli at that play at first base where he snagged that really, really hard hit ball. That, Altuve would have gotten it if it had gotten past him, but that probably was going to be a single. And Gurriel freaking snagged
What inning was that? Tonight?
Oh man, yeah. I can't remember what inning it was, but he got his glove down. He was down. It got low. Was almost like in a 3-point stance. And that ball got hit right to his right, and he just fucking dove, laid out for it and snagged it.
That was the one that Verlander had to cover the bag for.
Yep. Yeah. Dude, such a great play by Yuli. Man, that's something that we need to talk about. Maybe I really, really do want to do once they close this out and we're facing the World Series. I want to get all of our baseball experts and guys that we know, Derek, the guys from Lima Time, Jeremy. I want to get all of our baseball guys. I want to get all of us together. Well, me driving all of y'all together to talk about this World Series. And one of the things that I want to talk about when we do that, or maybe it's just me and you later on, in another show, I want to talk about the progress that Yulieski Gurriel has made as a first baseman and as a fielder. He's terrific. It's insane. He went from don't feel great about it to honestly, I feel like it's his time playing at third base where he had to get better. He had more balls hit at him. It made him a better first baseman from a defensive standpoint. But dude, the stretch outs, he does, and he's athletic for an older dude. People forget how old Yuli really is.
Nobody really knows how old he really is.
He's 427. I actually did the math.
Was he Noah?
For 400? Yeah, he's been alive for 427 years. The hair, it's like Samson. The hair keeps him younger. That's as long as he's got the hair going, he's fine. But yeah, that was such a great play by him. But going back to what you were saying about them hitting hard balls. Both teams are hitting home runs. Both teams are hitting it to the warning track. Both teams are hitting really hard shots right at the third baseman, right at the shortstop, and it's going to be interesting watching the game tomorrow, to say the least. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch it at home. I wish I could go buy tickets to that game tomorrow. How much does a kid go for?
A kid?
Yeah.
To a postseason game? I don't think it matters.
You're about to No. I mean, how much could I sell a kid for to be able to buy a ticket to the postseason game? Do you want to get look, I'll sell you Emery. She could help out. She'd be a great big sister. She definitely is a great big sister. She'd help out with the baby a lot.
I don't need two before I even had my first.
I'm saying $250. I feel like that's a fucking bargain, man. Look,
you wouldn't get a very good seat tomorrow.
For $250? I don't have to go with my wife. I'll just get a seat for myself.
You wouldn't get a very good seat. That's what I'm telling you.
$250 standing room only. That's all I need, man.
It's Game 6. Yankees, Astros, ALCS. If you want a box seat, you better fork over about $750, I think.
You know what? I think that to kind of close this out, I think the best part about this is if they don't close it out tomorrow, I'm not really that worried. Like, if they don't
Because
close
you
it
got
out,
Cole.
because you have the best pitcher in baseball to close out Game 7. And yeah, maybe there's an off chance he just comes out and doesn't pitch well and the bats don't show up. But literally no other team in the entirety of Major League Baseball could have a better situation going into a Game 7 than having Garrett Cole with that lineup. So if they
Agreed.
don't close it out, I would love for them to, but they don't. It's not that big of a deal to me.
I agree. I just don't want it to get to a Game 7.
No.
It would be really disappointing if it did.
Yeah.
Even it shouldn't be waving the white flag, having to go with a bullpen day tomorrow. I did something on our rundown, and it's not just to get ahead of ourselves, really, but it's just to point out that, the fact that the Astros and the Yankees have to have a bullpen day tomorrow. The Astros might very well have to do that twice in the World Series, presuming that there's no weird rainout or anything that costs you a day, right? That actually put the Astros in this situation that they're currently in. If, let's just say the Astros win tomorrow, Game 1 of the World Series is on the 22nd. Cole is starting that. Then you have Verlander, a day off. On the 25th, you go to Washington. Greinke's on the mound. Game 4, it's a bullpen day. Cole's not coming back early. Verlander's not coming back early. It's a bullpen day. It's Game 4. Now, what if you're up 3-0? Is it still a bullpen day? Yeah, why not? Because you could bring Cole in out of the bullpen. You could bring Verlander out of the bullpen on short rest.
Yeah, I feel damn good about going with – if you're up 3-0, I feel really, really good about going with a bullpen day.
On the 27th, Game 5, it's Garrett Cole, full rest. Game 6 has to be a bullpen day.
Yeah, it does.
You can't come back with Verlander with the idea that it's 3-2 and potentially in the same exact situation. If you lose Game 6, you need one of your aces on the mound for Game 7. In that case, it would be Verlander. So it could come up twice in the World Series potentially if they're fortunate enough to make it.
Here's where I want to change what you've done. I would go Game 1 Cole and then Game 2 Greinke. And I would switch Greinke and Verlander in Game 2 and Game 3, give Verlander a little bit more rest, have him come out in Game 3. So then you get Cole in Game 1, Greinke in Game 2. Then you get Verlander in Game 3. You go bullpen in Game 4. Then you can go Cole again in Game 5, Greinke in Game 6, and then Verlander in Game 7. And you don't have to worry about that bullpen again. Just by switching Greinke and Verlander, you don't have to go bullpen twice.
I like that. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but that is very good.
Shaun, some of us have the penchant for having a great baseball mind, and others of us just watch the sport because we like it, if you know
just
what I mean.
Simply exist.
Yeah, some of us are just there, and then others of us are blessed with great baseball minds.
That's probably not I don't think there's any probably about it. That's definitely the way you go.
That's what happens. Honestly, the only reason I came up with that and thought about that is because of all the time that I've spent with you and Derek Fogel. That's literally the only reason why I know how this works.
It helps talking through it, man, and that's what we're doing it for. I mean, there's so many things that we can unpack just through, 5 games of this series already. So many things.
We will unpack more tomorrow. Pre-game before what time? The game is at 7:08 tomorrow, right?
What was it? It was 6:08 today.
Yeah, so it's 7:08 tomorrow. So
and then 6:38 for a potential Game 7.
We'll unpack more tomorrow. We'll do a pregame, like a 20-minute pregame tomorrow before the game starts. Maybe start it at like 6:30. We'll blast it out and talk about it. So we'll talk more. And then what I really want to do is maybe we do the roundtable tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe I'll get some guys to come on with us. But I want to get more fan interaction in on this. I want more conversation based around this. So what I'll probably do is toss out my the number for Skype, and I'll just invite people to the call on Skype that would just want to join us. A couple of different people that pay attention and listen, but we'll do something like that. Real fast, 2 things before we end this, because it's a Friday night, and I know you guys are doing things, and I know I want to do things. And by do things, I mean I want to play World of Warcraft, and y'all can go fuck yourselves for making fun of me. Because I know each and every one of you assholes, especially you, Shaun, you all made fun of me as soon as I said that name. I regret saying it. I don't know why I did, but we all need to calm down. Calm down, everybody. But 2 things I want to get into real fast. I want to talk about the Texans because you called it. that this could be a signature win for the Texans, and it ended up being a signature win over the Kansas City Chiefs, which we'll talk about them and Pat Mahomes and what happened with him last night a little bit too. But then the final thing I want to talk about is El Camino, because you talked to a couple people that gave El Camino a bad review, and we're going to discuss that movie and why they're idiots. Hold on, let me roll that back. Why one of them is an idiot and one of them is your beautiful wife, who I would never call an idiot, but she has a very foul opinion on this specific movie.
She does.
But let's talk about the Texans, because when we talked before we went into the Texans-Chiefs game, we were both concerned, we were both worried, but we had seen things in the game before with Bill O'Brien's play calling and Deshaun Watson coming off. He had that game, coming off of a bad loss, and he's just like, fuck it, I'm Deshaun Watson, and was much, much better. And then, we saw the some of the consistency starting to come into this offense. Some of the weapons. Will Fuller had an astronomically good day coming off of that game, going into the Kansas City game. We thought, look, can they bring that consistency into this game? Can they do that again for a second game in a row? Can Bill O'Brien just not get in the way of himself, not get in the way of his players, call really good plays, and can the offense click? And look, they had problems. They had problems offensively. They had problems defensively against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. But in my opinion, and I really feel like this should be everybody's opinion, and if it's not your opinion, I'm sorry, you're just dumb. This is Bill O'Brien's signature win. This isn't even just the Texans' 2019 signature win. Like we've talked for a long time about Bill O'Brien as the head coach of the Houston Texans, and what signature win does he have? Like, what win does he have where it's, you just look at it, and you brought that up. It's not the Patriots last year. They have some good wins, but not one that's a signature win. And I don't care if Patrick Mahomes was a little banged up. Bill O'Brien and the Texans and Deshaun Watson went head-to-head against the highest-scoring offense last year, against a team that was considered to be a Super Bowl favorite, or at least a going to a Super Bowl favorite, the only team, quote, that can really rival the Patriots. And it was Andy Reid versus Bill O'Brien, and they walked in there, and they beat the shit out of them. There was nothing that defense could do to stop the Texans' offense, as we heard from Carlos Hyde via his microphone that did not get bleeped out during the game. But it was awesome to watch them be consistent from one week to another offensively, and go toe to toe with another team that's considered one of the highest scoring teams in the NFL. And really, really, for the first time, we really got to see the Deshaun Watson versus Patrick Mahomes duel that's going to just plague the AFC for the next decade. It was awesome to see. And then to see the Texans come out on top of that, it made me really excited. Like it was like Bill O'Brien, he kind of put a cup, he's like, here's some Kool-Aid. Drink it if you. It's like the game before. It's like, here's some Kool-Aid. If you want it, you can. You don't have to drink it if you don't want to. But I'll just put this here. And then I watched it and I looked at him like, I'm real fucking afraid to drink that Kool-Aid because it's probably poisoned. I don't know if I want to do that. And then the Chiefs game happened. I'm like, you know what? That Kool-Aid's probably not that bad. So I'm sipping the Kool-Aid, man. I'm back on board. I might be one of the worst fans in the world, to be honest.
No, you're just every other Texan fan ever.
That's so. Look, okay, I grew up a Cowboys fan, so I've seen.
You're every other Texan fan ever.
Exactly.
All Texan fans probably grew up Cowboy fans,
and I'm an Aggie fan
that weren't Oiler fans already.
It's like, I feel like Texans fans and Aggie fans are very similar, where it's like, everything is great. Everything is great going into the season. It's all going to be awesome. And then you just one bad game, we're like, fucking shit, fire everybody. We're fucking done for the season. Although the Aggies probably are only going to win like 6 games this year. But yeah, you called it. It was a signature win of the season. But it wasn't just the signature win of the season. It was a signature win of Bill O'Brien and his Texans tenure.
Yeah, for sure. And the reasons why I felt that way going in is it came at the most pivotal time in Bill O'Brien's tenure, right? And at the most important season that will be a make or break year for him, for the organization, definitely for like the fans' barometer of where this team is headed. I also think it was big just because of the opponent. The Chiefs could have been and really should have been in the Super Bowl last year, if not for D Ford jumping off sides. Mm-hmm. This is a Super Bowl team that you just beat in their house. One of the craziest, coolest, most awesome environments to watch a football game in person, I have to imagine, and on TV. I love it. And also, too, it going into it, I felt this way because Patrick Mahomes is an MVP. He's an MVP.
Yep.
And that is your only victory over a top-tier quarterback that actually is playing on a good team at the same time. They've beat Matt Ryan before, but Matt Ryan's team 2 weeks ago stunk.
Yep.
They're terrible. They're not good. Again, it sucks to be Matt Ryan. He's still not Matty Ice, but he's really good on a really crappy football team.
What's going like? Have you
look,
noticed how bad Julio Jones has been this year? Like
I haven't paid attention
he
a
hasn't
ton,
been great.
But I mean, get ready because those elite receivers aren't great forever. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks that you had to endure a few years of Matt Schaub and DeAndre Hopkins combo and Case Keenum and this and that guy and whoever else they threw in there. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of a victim of circumstance. But great receivers are great receivers. They slow down. It's just who can make the adjustments. I like the fact that people say DeAndre Hopkins' game is going to age well because, he's not the super fast 4.3 40 kind of guy. He knows how to use his body. He's got freakishly large hands. He can high point the ball. I mean, he does all the very little things well.
He's like a Larry Fitzgerald clone.
Yeah.
It's all really based off of body and positioning and being smarter and catching ability. Larry Fitzgerald is 100.
I hope the Texans and Deshaun Watson can squeeze DeAndre Hopkins for every last drop that he's got in him. Because
why are you getting so sexual on a Friday night?
You feel so good about this team because of J.J. Watt, of Whitney Merciless, of Bernard McKinney, all those pieces they have around them. And damn it sucks for Titus Howard and the Texans offensive line now because just as soon as they start hitting the groove, and he's one of the, I think he ended up grading out the first few weeks of the season as one of the highest performing offensive linemen in all of the NFL. Depending on how much stock you put into some of those metrics and things like that. I mean, our eyes say 2 weeks in a row Deshaun Watson hadn't been sacked, and when's the last time you could say that? Never.
Right. That's so true.
And on the road in Kansas City, it's not on the road in Indianapolis and yay, you beat the Colts for the first time on the road. Would that happen in 2015 and for some reason we still celebrate that crap in a meaningless game? I don't care about that. Now, go beat the Colts in their place, coming off of a destroying the Atlanta Falcons game, going toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs and beating them at their game in their house. Go beat the Colts now in their house, and then we can start talking about the consistency, a really good team. You could really say for the first time in a long time, dude, you got a really good football team in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so worried about this game on Sunday, though. I think Jacoby Brissett is a really good quarterback for Frank Reich's system. I think Jacoby Brissett's just a good quarterback, period. He's been really good this year.
He's one of the few, the proud that, as a backup quarterback, that's how he got his start, actually came in, did his job, got hungry. And
got good.
And, yes, earned the opportunity and seized the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
He's really, really good. He's beaten the Texans before. I believe it was with the New England Patriots when he did that. But, the good part about it is Bill O'Brien has a book on him. He knows how he operates in a certain offense in New England. He knows how he operates in an offense now in Indianapolis after having watched the first 6 weeks of him on film. And so I appreciate the game prep guy that Bill O'Brien is. I struggle to appreciate the game adjuster that Bill O'Brien is.
Yep.
And so that to me is always the key. Everybody is in the NFL for a reason. They're great, meticulous preparation artists. How the hell can you adjust on the fly?
Where are we at with the cornerback health for this team going into this game? Because that's one thing that I haven't really looked up. Because I'm concerned if cornerbacks are still banged up, I'm concerned going into this game with T.Y. Hilton. because T.Y. Hilton is the Texans' daddy, and he spanks them when they're bad boys. And that's pretty much every game that he plays against them. It's ridiculous. Like I wrote an article last year whenever I was still at the station, just showing how dominant T.Y. Hilton has been for the last for his career against the Texans. Like I think I only did 5 years though, and he was averaging like 110 yards a game against the Texans over a 5-year span, which is just absolutely asinine. And so that worries me, and Bill doesn't do a great job of adjusting a game like you said, and to have the corners banged up, that's not going to be great. But the other thing is I think the Colts are going to have Darius Leonard back. Their defense has already been pretty good, and they're going to have Darius Leonard back in this game too. So it's going to be tough, man. It's tough. It's tough to win back in 2 back-to-back road games like this. But it's especially tough to win. You know, you go and get a win at Arrowhead, and now you have to go to win at a place in Indianapolis where you've only won there on the road. What is it, twice?
I think it's 3 times.
3 times. So
maybe 3 times.
It's going to be tough. I'm not super confident, but I will say this: I am exponentially more confident that they can do it than I was before. Like if they came out and flopped against the Chiefs, I'd put it at a 0% chance to go on the road and beat the Colts. Now, kind of more like a 55-65 in favor, or 50. Wow, my math is a bit off there. 55-45 in favor of the Colts. Like I don't think I think it's close. I think it's going to be a close game. But I just give the Colts a little bit of favor because it's home field advantage. So I'm going to give that to them.
The Texans have to adjust a lot this week because they've got to plan for Jonathan Joseph coming back and how that's going to affect performance. Like, maybe Jonathan Joseph, just him being a veteran, and while he's not the most athletic guy anymore, it's just the nuance, the little things that he does well. It hadn't worked against T.Y. Hilton before. T.Y. Hilton plays really good against the Texans. I'm just laughing my ass off right now because I'm reading this scouting report on Roto World. Joseph returned to limited practice after sitting out last week. He's on track to play Sunday, but likely won't be 100%. Joseph's presence, listen to this. This is the funny part. Joseph's presence is a downgrade to T.Y. Hilton's matchup. What? What do you mean? Because Jonathan Joseph's going to be on the field, T.Y. Hilton's not going to, go for 150 and 2 touchdowns against the Texans like he always does.
Didn't really help them. Having J.J. on the field with T.Y. Hilton last year didn't really help them.
So you have to factor in Joseph coming back, which at the end of the day, let's be honest, it's a good thing. The more healthy corners you have, the better. But then 2, Kenny Stills practicing in full for this week. He's expected back for the Chiefs.
What about Roby?
Bradley Roby, I haven't seen anything on him. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist out there definitively. Will Fuller, was upgraded to full participation at practice today, so he'll be back and good to go. So the Texans will be, for the most part, healthy. I know your question was about corner, but I don't have a whole bunch of stuff on all of their corners.
I'm fine running through all the injuries. I don't know. I think Sunday's going to be a tough game, but they showed that they can handle it, and I'm definitely excited to watch it. I think it's going to be a damn good AFC South matchup.
Roby's out 4 weeks.
Fuck, and I couldn't remember. I knew he was out, but I couldn't remember if it was just for like a week or 2. 4 weeks is bad. Is it an ankle sprain?
Hamstring. Nobody has ankle sprains. It's all hamstrings in H-Town.
No, there's high. We've had high ankle sprains before. The H-Town hammies. Let's hit a couple of.
It needs to be a shirt.
A couple more NFL tidbits before we talk about El Camino, because I definitely want to talk about that. I loved it.
I'm so glad you loved it, man. I'm so glad.
A couple more NFL tidbits. Number one, since we already talked about the Chiefs, we'll talk about Patrick Mahomes getting the MRI done that confirmed that he has a dislocated kneecap, and he's going to be out for a pretty decent period of time. My only take on this is obviously it sucks for Mahomes, it sucks for the Chiefs, but
what they say, I heard 3 weeks this morning. I heard 3 weeks.
I think it was 3 to 4 weeks. But I think it just sucks for the NFL fan to not have Patrick Mahomes playing games. Now, it could have been a lot worse. Like, if it had been a torn ACL, that would have just been so disappointing from an NFL fan and a football fan perspective. Because, look, I know he's going to terrorize the AFC for the next 10 years, and he's a nightmare to deal with, but he is just so much fun to watch.
I love it.
Yeah.
Screw him. I love it because it puts
You
the
love him
spotlight
being
on
out?
Deshaun.
You know what?
Yeah, it
That's
puts
a
the
good
spotlight
point.
on Deshaun.
That's a good point. I really do think those guys are. Patrick Mahomes was so good last year. If Deshaun hadn't torn his ACL his rookie year, he would have done the exact same thing in his rookie season that Patrick Mahomes did last year in his first season as a starter. Like
It looked like it. Yeah.
He was on pace to do that shit with Will Fuller, and it would have been awesome. But like, these are the two guys to beat moving forward in the AFC. I still hold fast that Deshaun Watson is a top 5 talent quarterback in the NFL. He just needed to start putting it together, and these last 2 games look like he's on his way to do that. The other thing that I want to talk about is the Rams making moves, trading what's his dick away, forgot his name, oh come on, what was their other corner, Marcus Peters, trading Marcus Peters away, and then getting Jalen Ramsey from the Jaguars for, I think it was 2 first-round picks and a 4th-round pick. Is that what it was?
I think it was a 4th or a 6th.
I think it was a 4th. 2 first rounders, and then a 4th-round pick. Now you juxtapose that with, which that's, first of all, great job by the Rams to get this guy. I really do think he's going to come in. I think he's going to mesh well with the coaching staff. He's going to mesh well with Sean McVay, and he's going to mesh well with the team. Look, it's not like they haven't brought in headache guys on the defense before. They brought in freaking Ndamukong Suh, and they dealt with Ndamukong Suh and the headache that he can be sometimes. I think Jalen Ramsey just wants to play for a winner. I really don't think he's that big. It's not like he's an Antonio Brown type of character. He's a mouthy, and he is definitely a character, but I think he just wants to win at the end of the day, and the Rams are going to give him a chance to win and actually win things. But I think this is a great move by the Rams.
Those are 2 big things, though, that Ndamukong Suh really wasn't. Ndamukong Suh kept all of his stuff really on the field.
That's fair.
Player.
Very
true.
He
was a dirty player. He, step on people, kick people, punch people, cuss at people, stuff like that. That's what football players do.
Such an old man. Football players have tea parties, and they take each other out on brunch dates. That's what football players in 2019
Jalen Ramsey, I'm so glad he's out of the freaking AFC South so we can stop talking about his damn ass. I can't stand that fool.
Why are you talking about his ass? Gross, man. There was something else that I wanted to say on this too. Man, there was something else about this move that I honestly.
Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work?
Yeah, I think it's gonna work. It's gonna make their defense better, which their defense didn't need a ton of help, but it needed a little bit of help, and I do think this is gonna work at the end of the day.
I feel like their offense needs more help than their defense.
Yeah, their offense definitely. I'm still not a huge, massive Jared Goff fan, to be quite honest. This is what I was gonna say is, okay, Laramie Tunsil for 2 firsts and a 2nd. And then Jalen Ramsey for 2 firsts and a 4th, which, like, you're a GM or Bill O'Brien pretending to be a GM, and you have both of these offers on the table. Which one is the deal that you do? You need a left tackle and you need a cornerback. Which deal do you do?
Simple. Tunsil, I'd do it again.
Tunsil, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I instantly. Look,
it's more about you have an offensive line for the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we've seen the difference. Tunsil, the ripple effect that getting Tunsil has had on that offensive line, especially with the run blocking. Whoever thought that they were going to be able to block the run the way they have the last 2 weeks again?
Run blocking, and just over the course of the last 4 weeks, you've really seen a steady progression of Deshaun Watson. The number one thing people talk about, forget about like how many times he's being sacked. Mm-hmm. Like, even in those games when he's going down 4, 5, 6 times, there are times in that game in which Deshaun has a lot of time to throw, to scan the field, make decisions. He picks and chooses now a little bit more over the course of the last couple of weeks. I've known, like, when he runs, especially in the red zone, instead of wanting to sit there in the pocket and operate in close confines, they have to respect his legs, but now they've also got to respect the arm and how he fits balls into tight windows. So I think that's why he's got like 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns so far this season, and I think he's on pace for like 13 at this point. And it's because they have to respect the legs, and I think it's easy to forget about that stuff in the red zone with him. But that's something I've noticed over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think is there's little bits and pieces where every week he gets a little bit better about standing in the pocket and
Yeah.
making really good
Yes.
throw. He's
And
never
not
been
hold
bad at that, but
and not
you
holding on
never
to the
really
ball
wanted
too
him to
long.
do it.
Well,
Yeah,
the pockets have looked better too. Like I
pockets have
think
looked better,
that's a huge part of it. Is the pockets have just looked better.
but he's gotten. You're right, absolutely. Especially the last 2 weeks. Especially the last 2 weeks. That ball is coming out very quick,
Um,
very very quick. I
that's
think it's a Bill O'Brien and a Tim Kelly adjustment too, with some
yeah.
route options for him.
Yeah, that's Kara's always complained about that with me coming out too quick. So one thing, another question I want to ask real fast. This is very Texans oriented, and maybe this is a longer discussion that we have on Tuesday. So this is a little teaser question for our episode on Tuesday. Do I have to eat crow on the Jadeveon Clowney thing? And was Bill O'Brien right?
But he was right.
Like, Merciless has been real good.
Yeah.
J.J. Watt has been really good.
I don't know why people were freaking out about this. I know you loved Clowney.
But Clowney has been good for now. It's once again, it's not coming up on the stat page.
Clowney wasn't going to play here.
Well, yes, he was obviously right because of, like, from the personality ramifications. But let's just from a pure football perspective, do I have to eat crow on being wrong that, like, from a football standpoint, it was stupid to let Jadeveon Clowney walk and not try to salvage it because of what he brought on the football? Okay, all right, we're gonna do that on Tuesday.
Crow, and I'm gonna serve it up.
Fucking, you're an asshole. I'll eat crow on Tuesday because Merciless and Watt have been really, really, really good. Also, I'm on a quest to get to 2,000 followers, and I don't think my deal is if I get to 2,000 followers, which I'm so close. I'm like 35
1969.
away.
1969.
Hey, there we go. So I'm 31 away, and I think I said I would chug 6 White Claws, which this is the raspberry, not the mango. I ran out of mango tonight. I said I would chug 6 mango White Claws back to back to back, and I don't feel like people think that 6 is enough, so I'm gonna up it to 10. I will chug 10. I will tape myself chugging. I feel like 10 is a lot. I know I'm saying this. I feel like 10 is a lot. I'm gonna throw up at 6, but I'll shoot for 10. All right. I'm gonna wear my Ain't No Laws when you drink a Claws tank top. I'm gonna have my 2 cases of mango White Claws. If you guys get me to 2,000, I will do that. I will try my best. I'll drink 6 to 10. How about that? All right, an homage to my former workplace. I will drink 6 to 10 White Claws back to back to back. All right, let's close this out with a little talk about El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Okay, let me start with my thoughts on this movie. Jesse Pinkman was a thick boy, and it kind of made him more likable, weirdly enough. But I love the fact that they decided to go. I think they waited the right amount of time. It's years later to go back and show us what happened to Jesse. And now I get it. When you end a show, you don't want to show exactly what happened to characters. You want to leave an air of creativity for the viewer's mind to say that you come up with what happened to him. He drives away, and then that's all you know. Now you get to create his future. A lot of TV shows like to do that. But after a certain amount of time, and when did Breaking Bad end? Like 5 years ago, something like that, or maybe it was 4 years ago, somewhere around there. When, like, after a certain amount of time, I like going back and showing what happened to him, and then showing all of the different characters that built who Jesse Pinkman was throughout the show, and all the interactions that they showed that we never got to see. A lot of it was, and it all tied in, and a lot of it was really, really interesting. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was a really good story. I still love Jesse. Jesse's still my favorite character from that freaking show. Well, Jesse and Hank were my 2 favorite characters, but Hank got shot to death.
Hey, really?
I loved him. Oh, I loved him so much. Well, look, I have a thing for complex characters, and Hank was a very, very complex character because on the surface he was, I'm a cop, but he was so much more than just that. So I'm a sucker for characters like that. Jesse's the same way.
I thought Hank was about as predictable of a guy, Mr. I'm a cop, than anybody. Like one of the most complex characters to me, outside of Better Call
Saul,
who's got Better Call Saul, and the reason being he's so complex of a character, they decided to make a spinoff of his and a prequel because of how interesting he was. But I thought Mike, in Better Call Saul, they did a really good job that's Mike's show too, because they did a really good job of explaining the backstory of how Mike got to be Mike in that show. How did this guy get to be so crooked, this old man, this grandpa?
Yeah.
And they explain when he was a cop back in, what was it, Chicago or Philadelphia, with his
I think it
son,
was Chicago.
and they were, crooked, or his son went crooked and things like that. And to me, that was one of the most complex characters. Hank and Marie were just two gigantic popcorn farts, like totally predictable.
Go back and watch. So you didn't know Mike was complex until Better Call Saul. Mike was not a complex character.
No, he's complex in the sense. He's complex in the sense is that your constant question is, how did this guy get to be like this?
True, but that's mystery. That's not complexity. Mike, you always knew where Mike stood, and you knew who Mike was. Mike was very clear with his intentions and his personality. Mystery and complexity are two completely different things.
But yes, why? The question is why is always.
With Hank, he was very predictable. He was definitely very predictable. But throughout the series, they showed that he was only predictable because he thought that's what he had to be. He thought that was how he had to be, but he wanted to be something different, multiple different times. And so that's what I liked about Hank.
I agree with you there too. Now, I immediately started thinking about when you look at Hank and he's kind of like the one-liner guy, the beer drinker, Hellraiser kind of guy, whatever, right? But he was such a smart dude, like really good at his job.
And very intelligent.
And so, yes, very intelligent. And, when he's sitting at Walt's house on the toilet and he gets the book, that was given to Walt by his former lab assistant, Gail, right?
Yeah.
And he opens it up and he reads that, and he's like, everything just starts kind of making sense. And how he was so smart and on top of his job and everything he did.
Yep.
Everything he did, to the point that even the people that he worked with at the office thought he was nuts for always being on top of it, but they thought it was so outlandish. There's no way. And then the whole time, what made the whole show to me was that he was right under your nose.
Yep.
And no matter how smart you think you were, like, family is family. So one of the most interesting things to me is that while Walt, one of the lines in almost every episode since season 2 was, I'm doing it for my family and doing it for my family, how important family was for Walt, how important family was for Skylar, how important family was, but never really talked about by Hank.
Yeah.
But that he trusted, believed, and loved it so much, he never once considered, when it seemed so obvious at certain times, especially in season 4 and 5, that it's Walt. He's right there.
Yeah.
He never once considered it.
Let's get back to talking. Let's talk about El Camino, because you will not like my opinion on Walter White. Maybe this is a much larger discussion, but I think that the doing it for my family was an entire pile of bullshit throughout the entire series. And Walter was narcissistic and selfish, and he was always doing it for himself and under the guise of doing it for him.
It turned into that.
And then maybe that's what it is. Maybe it turned into once he broke bad. Originally, the original intention was, I'm going to do this for my family to make sure they're taken care of after I die. But then he definitely turns into,
he got tired of being screwed over.
Yeah,
and
all
being
he
a bitch.
Kept thinking about
got tired of being
an unsuccessful bitch.
Right, but there was a turning point, and I know you want to get to El Camino, but there was a turning point. There was a turning point in Breaking Bad. Something had happened with his old partner, Gray Matter, the guy that had billions and all that stuff. Something happened there, and he was like, I'm constantly disrespected and forgotten about and not considered. And that is when he said, you know what? Screw this. Mm-hmm. I'm really good at this, and nobody has to know about it, like from my past life, but everybody's going to know about it in my current life. Like the Tucos, Gus's, everybody's going to know I'm a bad mofo. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that was the turning point. That's when it became like, when he told Jesse, I'm in the empire business.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I need to go back and watch through that entire series again.
I've seen it 7 times over, bro.
7 times? Holy shit! I've only seen it the one time.
1 through 6. I've seen it 7 times because what I did is
you want to be Walter White. I'm gonna wake up one day and you're gonna be selling blue meth.
Maybe I am.
Oh shit! Oh shit! You're already a teacher. Oh
no. No. I got to Breaking Bad late, like in the middle part of season 1. I used to come home late from covering Rocket games, and that was the only thing on TV.
Yeah.
And so I'd watched it like maybe like season 4, episode 1, finished the whole first season, then I rewatched it. So that was like something I did when season 2 came out. I watched 2, then I'd watch 1 and 2 and prep for 3, and so on and so forth. And so I told Mandy the other day, I was like, now we need to watch Breaking Bad all over again and all of Better Call Saul before Better Call Saul season 5 comes out. And she's like, no.
I didn't start watching it until right before the final season. And that's whenever I started. So I was real late to the party.
Did I get you into that?
No, you might have been one of the people. It was really more of a conglomeration, and like everybody else said it was really good, and I finally just said, okay, I'll watch it. I think it was like it finally came on Hulu or Netflix, and I was like, okay, I'll dive in now. But I thought El Camino was really good. I like seeing Jesse. I like seeing Jesse go through everything. I like seeing all the flashbacks with Jesse and all the interactions with all the different characters. And I loved that they were giving closure to everybody. They gave closure to Skinny. They gave closure to Jesse himself. They gave closure to Jesse with after what's her face, the love of his life had died. Like right there towards the very end, there was closure. There was closure for everybody. And I know the argument was made that it was unnecessary and that it was fan service and that they just invented the villains. They invented 2 villains for no reason. And those villains were clearly there. Technically all the villains that they've ever had throughout the show were invented. Villains are invented for TV shows all the time. They don't have to be like natural villains that were there before. Yeah. It's not like Gus Fring was like some villain from another universe that they brought in because he was a great villain. It's just they brought in a villain. So I thought it was a little fan servicey. I'll at least listen to that argument. I mostly disagree with that.
I don't know what that means.
You did it because fans wanted to see the closure, or you did it because but that's fan service, right? Like I can at least.
But that's why you do it.
Right.
It was Breaking Bad went down as one of the greatest shows, if not the greatest show ever on cable television, maybe next to The Sopranos, and I never watched 1 second of that, but yeah, people wanted to see what happened to Jesse. People wondered if Walt White was actually dead.
Right.
People wondered what happened to Saul.
I will at least understand how people feel with that, though, because so perfect example is Scrubs. Has the original. I love Scrubs. It's one of my favorite sitcoms of all time.
Good.
Scrubs has the best TV show ending I've ever seen in my entire life. JD sits in front. He walks to the door. He opens the door. There's a sheet with a projector showing him what his life could be like. It shows him getting married and having kids and growing old and having an awesome life. But that's what they want you to see, but that's not necessarily what happens, because then he drives away. And so they leave it open-ended, but also give you the feeling of having that satisfaction of what his future is going to be. So that might be his future, it might not be, but it makes you feel good, and then it's still open-ended, and you can.
What was the alternative? What was the alternative? I don't remember.
No, the ending. There's no alternative. The ending is just great. But then they brought the fucking series back. And it's one of the final season of Scrubs, when they brought it back with the new class, is one of the biggest piles of dog shit TV I've ever seen in my entire life. They did it because Scrubs.
I didn't watch that.
Oh, don't do it. It's not worth it. They did it because they did it like 3 years after Scrubs ended, because another network picked it up, and fans love Scrubs, so they thought, why not make more Scrubs? But it was awful, and that takes away from how good the ending was. So I get it. You can it could take away from how good the ending was of Breaking Bad. Now I don't think it did at all. So I'll at least listen to the argument, and I kind of understand where people come from with that. But I don't feel like it was that fan servicey. I thought it was a really, really good final installment from an amazing TV show. And now what I really want to do is I want to go watch Breaking Bad from the first episode all the way through, and all the way through El Camino. It just in one fucking binge watch. And I thought it was really good. So Al, your wife and Alex can suck it. They don't know what they're talking about.
My wife said after it was over, she goes, it was okay. She thought it was unnecessary, and she thought that she got the same closure at the end of El Camino that she'd had at the end of Breaking Bad. She was like, both times Jesse was free. Both times Jesse drove away. And I said, no. Now hold on. Here is exactly why El Camino needed to be made and should have been made, was great. At the end of Breaking Bad, you had a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And
he's free from the cage. He's not legitimately free. You have no idea what's going to happen.
But how many times over the course of Breaking Bad was Jesse free from living that life?
Yep.
A number of times. That he got cleaned up and had the house. That he got cleaned up and was in rehab and had the girl. He got cleaned up and finally got his money from Walt, was done. And every single time he did something stupid or something jacked up happened to him and he had to go back, he was right back in it. So when Jesse is free at the end of Breaking Bad and he drives through the gate, how do we know that this dumbass doesn't fly over the top of that hill and crash into a cop car or something? How do we know
thought that was, I was waiting for that to happen.
How do we know that Jesse doesn't go back, meet up with Skinny and Badger, and they're wearing wires and they bust him or something like that? Or one of the Todd comes back and kills Jesse or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a question: what happens? How does he screw it up now? There was a question of, what does Saul do now? Where does he go? Is he really a Cinnabon manager in Omaha? Is Walter White really dead? And it took 20 minutes into El Camino for them to say on the radio, right? Was it on the radio or TV?
It was on the TV, I think.
Walter White was dead.
Yeah.
So it's like, dang, wow, for real? And Mandy was like, you knew he was dead all the time. I'm like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. It just...
Vince Gilligan even said that in multiple interviews after the fact.
He wanted to leave it open.
It would have been far-fetched, but okay, how far-fetched? There's so many things, and Breaking Bad did what is super hard to do. They took the unthinkable and made it relatable.
Yep.
And to me, that's what made that show great. That's what made El Camino great, because of the writing, the thinking,
the soundtrack. The soundtrack was awesome.
But just I was on the edge of my seat the whole time in El Camino. I don't know about you.
Well, I fell asleep. I didn't fall asleep during the movie. I was watching it late and I was getting tired, so I turned it off to go to sleep and then had to finish it later. But yeah, mentally, I wasn't on the edge of a seat, but mentally I was just kind of like, I was waiting for something bad to happen for the exact reason you brought up, because Jesse always fucks something up.
Yeah.
I was waiting for something bad to happen to him, because that's all that ever happened was bad things always happened to Jesse.
I just wanted to say this. I thought, you had closure for a lot of people at the end of Breaking Bad, but while you still had questions about Walt, Saul, Jesse, and if you want to go as far as to, the it doesn't matter characters, which was my wife's, by the way, biggest issue. What happened to Skyler? What about Walt Jr.? What about Marie?
Literally the worst TV character ever.
Well, you know what happened to them.
Yeah.
They're in witness protection, in hiding from Walt and all of the other potential enemies they don't know that are already all dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they got what they always wanted. They started their new life without Walt and safe. Walt got what was coming to him, and that was death, but he also got his vengeance before.
Yeah.
And Jesse, if you could make the argument that because it was two different shows, so he got it twice, but Jesse got what really every fan every year always thought he deserved.
It was freedom.
And that was freedom.
Yeah.
That was a chance at a new life. Jesse was the poor kid at school that, had a really good home, but fell in with the wrong crowd. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this poor kid doesn't realize what he has. He's throwing it all away. He's throwing it all away, which is true. And he was given another opportunity. And the closure was the new frontier moving to Alaska when he had that conversation with Mike in that flashback. You remember that?
Yeah.
In El Camino? He's like, yeah, the new frontier. And, Jesse's probably like, new frontier, that sounds new. That was like, this is something that he's given. It's another gift. It's another blessing that he won't mess up this time. Yeah. That was the closure that I felt like you needed for El Camino, and they gave it to us.
He's been through too much to screw up this time. Although I do love the throwback to Jesse making a dumb decision and screwing up, like where the guy called the cops and he was like, you didn't call the cops, and then he runs through the whole thing, and then they show up, and then you see him bolt. He's like, oh, and he bolts off and then runs back.
Don't forget the money.
That was a classic Jesse moment, and so I'm glad they gave him like one little classic Jesse screw up. But yeah, I loved it. I guess I could at least see why people.
Now the other screw up was when he's in the apartment and he's searching for the money, right? And he's making he turns the TV on and the TV blares.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that part. Yeah. No, I can see where people would have issues with it for the most part. I can understand it, but I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done and a perfect throwback and closure for what Breaking Bad was. But I really enjoyed it.
Todd was fat in the movie.
Yeah, Todd he was. He was fat. But man, that guy, like, he's still... He doesn't get older, he just gets fatter. Like, instead of aging, he just gets bigger. But all right, we're gonna go ahead and end this. We'll do a pregame tomorrow at probably around 6:30. We'll put it up on Twitter and let you guys know when we're gonna do it. We'll talk a little bit more Astros tomorrow. But we appreciate you guys watching us. You can follow us. We were Wasted Talent. You can follow us at youtube.com/Josh Beard. I need to change the name on that at some point. But you can follow me at Josh Beard Radio on Twitter and Tooth Pete on Instagram. You can follow Shaun at Shaun Bajani and Shaun Bajani on both Twitter and Instagram. But we appreciate you guys watching us, and we will see you tomorrow before Game 6 of the ALCS. Take it easy, everybody. Oh, no, I pulled up the wrong